questions for Coach.
24 hours for you. I guess maybe just touch on immediate reaction to the contract extension, and then obviously you winning your second Coach of the Year award.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for President Gold and for Troy for their belief and their trust in what we're doing for this program. And, I'm beyond excited to sign a long-term contract. We absolutely love it here. And, I think you saw with the whole family back in the building and, the history that we have in this state and in this university, with my parents both being Southeast graduates and, being Dad got his PhD here at Nebraska. My mom got her degree from here as well. And, both grandparents having a big role in the faculty here. And, it's just really exciting for me knowing that this is, most likely where I'm going to end my career. And it's, to me, it's a credit to all the people that you surround yourself with. I'm really thankful, starting with my staff and, everybody that's helped us get to this point. And then the players, going all the way back, to, when we got things flipped here and, really all the way back to that first year. Some of the guys I really enjoyed coaching. But these last, 4 teams specifically have just, have been some of the most fun that I've been around. And, how I've talked about this year's team with Rink, with Jamarcus, with Sam, with the seniors, but, also Kendall and Jared for the way that they've handled their role and the professionalism and how they've really helped, continue with the culture that we've established. And, but going back to that team with Griesel, I know I talk about that probably more than I should, but I just, want to continue to make sure that, Sam gets recognized for everything that he helped us as far as flipping things here, and Emmanuel and Derek and Jawan and, Josiah, Casey, going all the way back. I know I'm missing some, but, just really thankful for all those guys. To me, that's what this award is all about, is the people you surround yourself with. And, we've got a great staff. Wouldn't trade them for anybody.
What does this week look like just in terms of preparation for the Big Ten tournament, and how do you handle, I think, for another 4 different teams you could potentially play in that?
Yeah, I mean, we're just really going through concepts right now. We actually did practice the day after the Iowa game. We came in here as a group and watched film and cleaned up the the offense defense that we do after every game. Whether we win or lose, that's been what we've done, and our guys were really bought into that. And then we took it out in the court and did a lot of stations. We did some shooting. We shot a lot of free throws, and we just worked on some things that we're going to see whoever we play against. And then, we'll get more into it as we go along on who the most likely teams that we'll play. We'll get after it tomorrow with a good physical practice. We'll travel to Chicago tomorrow, have a good team meal with our team, and then we're actually going to practice at DePaul on Thursday, and then hopefully get into the United Center for at least a short stint so we can shoot and see the background and everything on Friday before the game.
You've known Bryce a long time. How special is it seeing him get that first team honor, and just what's the thing he's maybe grown the most at as a player?
Yeah, I'm so proud of Bryce. He he came into this year after being basically a role player on that Iowa team. He played the role, I thought, to perfection for the role that he was asked to play with some really good players that he was surrounded with. And coming into this season to establish himself as the go-to guy, we run so many actions for Bryce and how he was going to play alongside Rink. I think that was a big thing, is he really fit with the personnel. Jamarcus, Sam really being distributors. And, Bryce, I think the biggest area that Bryce has grown in, I think there was a lot of questions, could he defend at a high level? And when you look at our defensive efficiency, and I think we had the lowest defensive scoring average in the league, and Bryce was a big part of that. I thought he grew in just from where he was last year to where he was this season. His defense was a big part of this whole success story that we're having right now, and the way he's evolved into a playmaker. You look at his assist to turnover ratio. You look at his rebounding. One thing that I thought was his key to anything on Sunday, Bryce didn't have a defensive rebound in Iowa City in our game a couple weeks ago. He goes out and has 8 of them. That's enormous. And it's growth. And, we talked to him about that, and we got on him in the film session, and he responded in a huge way. So I just think his overall game is what I've been most impressed with. We saw that, I think, but it takes some time over the course of your college career on when you can get to that point. And after being basically a shooter at Iowa, a job I thought he did very well with, to being a guy that you run offense through on pretty much every possession, I think shows the growth of Bryce Sanford. But to me, it's the defense.
Going off that, you guys have produced back-to-back first-team players now with Bryce and Price. How much of a recruiting advantage can that be going forward?
Oh God, Justin, I don't know. I don't know if that stuff matters. I'll say this: I do think it's a fun system to play in, and those two guys, with the multi-handler offense that we have, they've both been put in playmaking type roles. With Bryce, basically played the 4 at his previous school at Charlotte. And again, Price was basically a spot-up shooter. But listen, I mean, Iowa had the number 1 offense in the country last year, so it was the role that he was asked to play. But with the movement, the motion, the different guys that handle the ball, I do think this is a really good system to play in. Whether you're that type of player, or obviously a guy like Rink, Derek, George Niang, Royce White, guys that you can play through on the front court. It's it's a fun system because of the speed and the multi-handler offense that we play.
You were really high on Braden going into the season. For him to get this type of recognition on the conference level, is that kind of what you maybe saw going back to the summer?
Yeah, well, I saw it going back to last year when he had the redshirt year and played on the scout team. I mean, he I know I've talked a lot about this. He dominated a lot of practices last season, and we knew that he would have the ability and the capability of making a big jump going into what was his freshman year. And to his credit, he's been unbelievable, and I'm proud of him for, and I'm happy that he was recognized as the 6th man of the year, and also on the all-freshman team with some unbelievable freshmen in this conference. And he did it without. Listen, we don't run a lot of stuff for Braden, and that's going to change. I mean, he's going to be a guy that we certainly can play through and run actions for, and you never know how somebody will respond when you go from the freedom that you're able to play with on the scout team every day to actually getting thrown in the fire. How are you going to respond? How are you going to react? And from the first day, you can just see he's obviously a fearless type player, and he goes out there, he plays with a chip on his shoulder, and we need it. We need his edge. He plays with an edge. There's no doubt about that, and this team desperately needed that.
You've obviously talked a lot about how good this team is at staying even keel regardless. How has some of that adversity and their mindset well positioned them going forward?
Yeah, I think everything that we've gone through, it all helps for this type of the new season that we're about to face. When you see how your team responds, they've been really good for the most part, and now it's tenfold. You don't get a chance to go clean it up and then get an opportunity to go out and fix it. You have to be on point with everything that you're doing, and how are you going to navigate that adversity when it hits you in these tournaments that we're about to play in. It's one and done now. There's no do-overs. There's no second chances. So we really have to be on point, and that's been a big message to our team. But I'm really confident in this group because of the way that they've handled that all season long.
What's it going to be like for you stepping into the United Center with all your history there?
Well, we played there a couple years ago, and I had 4 probably the most influential years of my playing career in Chicago, going from a very young player on some really good Pacers teams, and playing in the United Center or sitting on the bench in the United Center, and a lot of those first teams that I played on in Indiana, and then going to Chicago and playing with some of the holdovers from the championship teams, Tony Kukoc, B.J. Armstrong, Will Perdue, Randy Brown, Dickie Simpkins, a lot of really good players that were great for me. And then when those guys all either were traded or left in free agency, I got a chance to be a captain on those teams and had some of the best years statistically in my career, and really established myself as a guy that could survive in that league. And then that helped me get to probably 2 of the better years in Minnesota, before the surgery that ended my career. But yeah, it was very beneficial that time. And Sam and Charlie, the twins, they were born in Chicago. Jack and Paige, first portions of their lives, were mostly in Chicago, and that's what they remember. Jack graduated from high school in Chicago, so we've got great memories from there. The coaching experience there, I'm very thankful for the opportunity I got. I always think if Rondo wouldn't have broken his thumb in the playoffs when we had a 2-0 lead on the Celtics, what could have been? But it didn't happen. So I'm thankful to the organization for the opportunity. I know I grew in a lot of ways, and it helped prepare me for what we're going through right now. With free agency and all that fun stuff that we get to deal with. But yeah, it's a great place, great venue, one of the great arenas in the world.
Be created this week heading into the big tournament?
Whatever happens, Justin, we're gonna learn. We're gonna play a great team on Friday. I know that who it is. We obviously don't know that at this time, but we're gonna play a great basketball team. And whatever the result, we're gonna grow from it, and we're gonna get better heading into the next stage. Hopefully, we're there for 3 days. That's the goal, and that's what we're going there to accomplish. But whatever happens, we're gonna grow from it, learn from it, especially in this format. This is the first of the you lose, you're out, and it's beneficial for us heading into the next stage.
3 games in 3 days with a short rotation and some of the things that you guys have been dealing with, like just managing the physical toll of a run, or is that even a thought?
I don't think so, Rob. And you just got to go out there and play and stay in the moment. That's the important thing for us at this time of year. And it was really fortunate in the Big 12 to cut down the nets 2 times, and that nothing will ever replace that. It's just an unbelievable feeling. We had it last year. It was a crown, but to cut down the nets with those guys, it was a really fun thing to share with them. And the players got a nice little payday to go along with that, which was more fun for them. But yeah, to go there and we're not going in there to lose. We're going in there to have an opportunity to advance. And again, I think that all helps prepare you for the following week.
They won a record number of games this year. What are some of the winning qualities with this team?
Yeah, I just think that the togetherness, how connected they've been throughout the entire season, the chemistry that they've built. I know I've talked a lot about this. There's no distractions with this group. That to me has been the most fun part of the journey. And I've talked about the crucial week to me was the Creighton, Wisconsin, Illinois week, and that to me, I learned a lot about our guys at that time. There was no over celebration. They didn't, like Purdue a couple years ago when we got it handed to us. That next game on the road, these guys have handled success beautifully, and they've gotten over the losses pretty well for the most part. And that's been the fun part of the journey for me is how these guys have handled it. Their daily preparation. When you go back to June, their work ethic, getting themselves in great physical shape, which you have to be in. And I do think that's helped us over the course of our season. And sharing it with all these guys, we really have talked to them about keeping their walls up. Now more important than ever, especially with some of the recognition. I love it. I love that, I talked about Braden, Bryce getting the first team, Rank getting recognized after what he dealt with over the course of the last 2 years. Sam getting first team with Michigan's entire roster, and also getting an honorable mention. I think that speaks volumes to, especially with the coaches. The coaches really are the ones that gave these guys, the recognition, and that to me is the important thing. That's what I think speaks to the success of our guys is how bought in the chemistry that they played with.
Is there any benefit from the guys who were on the team 2 years ago that went into the Big Ten tournament in a similar situation now of starting in the quarterfinals and the quick turnaround? Is there any kind of muscle memory and knowing how to handle that?
I don't know, Wilson. Listen, your matchups are different. You've got different personnel out there on the floor. That was one of the most fun games I've ever played in with Casey, and you had the Ohio State guy, Pat Cahill. Yeah, you had Pat over there just going crazy. And now he's going to be there this week. I saw as well. So we created a lifelong fan because of Casey Tominaga. But that whatever he had 23 and a half and. To pull away, and then I think we had a 15-point lead against Illinois before Terrence Shannon just started launching into our bodies and shot 100 free throws. But it was it was a good experience, and then we got the matchup that we did in the NCAA tournament. So it's yes, does it help to have a situation like that for some of these guys? Yeah, but it's different roster, different matchup.
Anything else for Coach?
All right, thanks, guys.
questions for Sam?
Sam, I guess, this has been a memorable year for you. Cap it off with all defense, honorable mention, honors, just the individual accolades, especially from the coaches. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's pretty rewarding. I had the goal of making the defensive team even last year, which I didn't make, obviously. But, yeah, that was a goal for me. I knew I could compete for that. And it's tough to beat a 7'4" guy for Defensive Player of the Year, so I'm okay with that. But, yeah, even getting the honorable mention for all Big Ten is something that was only in my biggest dream. So being able to kind of be rewarded for that is very satisfying.
Braden, for you, the last year sitting out and just kind of all the work you had to put in behind the scenes to have the role you did this year and then to get that sort of recognition, six-man, all-freshman team, I guess. What did that mean to you?
I mean, I think it just goes to show the trust that the coaches and the players had in me. I mean, I feel like last year things didn't go the way I wanted to, but then I trusted the process. I stayed down, I kept my head down, kept working, and I think that's the biggest thing just coming in this year. And coaches, my teammates believed in me, put me in situations where that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the same position, obviously a little bit different because I knew I was going to redshirt, and he could have got pretty upset because I think with how he played in practice, he showed he was good enough to play for us. But I think with him being so young, it was almost decided before him that he was going to redshirt, and I think we regretted that a little bit with how the season ended. But, yeah, he just always stayed working and kept his head down, like he said, and stayed positive, and he's reaping the benefits now.
Braden, having this first regular season under your belt, what do you think you've learned and where do you think you grew this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think going through it my redshirt year, I didn't really see it through like the other guys did. I mean, I was there every day. I mean, I obviously didn't take on the physical challenges. I mean, it's a lot going through. I mean, I never thought it would be this hard, but I mean, I've learned a lot. I think I've grown a lot this year, just actually being out there, being on the court and playing, traveling, and doing all this stuff with the team.
Going off of that, the fact you were there during the Crown run, how much do you feel like that will help you going into your first postseason and your first Big Ten tournament and then at NCAA tournament?
No, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like you got to win it to advance. And I think we went through that earlier in the year with the tournament down in Kansas City. We've kind of already got a little hint of that. So I think just going on, I mean, we kind of take it game by game, day by day. So just working on next opponent, next day mentality.
How much can you lead the team with the experience that you had from Big Ten tournaments and NCAA tournament stuff for people like Braden that haven't done that before?
Yeah, I mean, going to the NCAA tournament 2 years ago, you don't realize how much there's stuff there is outside of it with all the media stuff and all the attention you're getting, especially being the only team that hasn't won a tournament game. So you really just have to lock in. And the coaches made that a point a couple of years ago, but we had never seen that before. I think Jawan was the only one that had played in a tournament game. And, yeah, I think it's just Jawan. So, yeah, just having the experience from that. Rink was there. Kale was there. We're going to be able to take a lot from that and just make sure we stay focused on the task at hand, and that's going to be a huge point of emphasis for me as a leader.
How much momentum do you feel like you guys can create in Chicago heading into the big NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, winning games makes you feel good, and I think we can't get too caught up with the momentum swings. So if it doesn't go well, we can't be down and think we're not going to play well in the NCAA tournament. But, yeah, you can ride that kind of momentum from getting wins in the tournament, because I looked at my dad's Iowa State teams that they won the Big 12 championship. 1 year they made the Sweet 16, and 1 year they lost in the first round. So you have to kind of stay level no matter what. Obviously having success will make you feel good, but you have to move on and just get back to focusing.
Sam, has this team been as good as any you've been on it, blocking out the outside stuff?
Yeah, I think so. We just have so much experience. I think it starts with Rink being kind of our main vocal leader, along with myself, but I think he really is taking on the challenge to be the main one, and he's so disciplined. He's so good at getting guys back, level again when things are going wrong, and just having so many guys that have been through so many different experiences in college have allowed to just help everyone else keep that same mentality.
Sam, I know you went to Chicago a few years ago, but just how special is going to that city and specifically United Center for you and your family?
Yeah, it's really cool, living there for a long time and having family still out there with my sister. It's really cool. I never really dreamed of playing in the United Center. I've spoke about it at length that, I had dreams of playing here, but NBA was never really a thought, so I never thought I'd play in the United Center. So that was cool being able to play there a few years ago, and it didn't go well. And I'm just so focused on trying to win these games that I'm not thinking too much about, going back to Chicago where I'm from and I just want to win these games, really.
Sam, and taking on a bigger role as a leader this year, did that just naturally come from being a more experienced guy, or is that a conscious effort you had to put in to talk more and be more?
I think there's a little bit of both. Last year I don't think I was necessarily a big vocal leader, but I almost allowed Bryce and Jawan to take that role since they were the seniors. And this year, not necessarily thrusted into it, but I felt like it was on me to, not let kind of the slip-ups happen that happened last year. I learned a lot from last season, so I felt like I could bring my expertise just from being in lots of different situations for different teams. And, yeah, I felt like it was really important for me to step up and lead this season.
Sam, what does it say about your guys' offensive system and how free-flowing it is that you guys produced back-to-back first-team players with Bryce last year and Price this year?
Yeah, obviously it helps to have really talented players like Bryce and Price, but I think we have one of the best systems in the country. I would say my dad is one of the best offensive minds in the game, and if you're a good player, I don't know why you wouldn't want to come play here.
Sam's probably not going to say anything, but just from everything that you know about his value to this team and all your guys' success, do you think he was more deserving than honorable mention All Big Ten?
Yeah, I think obviously I don't think his stats stand out to you, but I think he's been one of the best, or one of the most, if not the most impactful guys on any of the teams in the Big Ten. He's been great leader on and off the court, and just what he does, I think he's easily should have been one of the first or second All Big Ten team, just the impact he has on the game.
Braden, is there a different maybe level of excitement for you just being so young coming into this Big Ten and NCAA tournament experience?
No, I'm excited. It's all I've ever dreamt of, just going to the NCAA tournament. I know we have a lot of guys with experience that have been there, so I think just going out there playing it, I don't want to make it personal. I don't want to make it about me, but I just want to go out there, play, and just treat it like another game, like that we got to win.
Sam, your dad's talked a lot about how proud he is of you and your accomplishments in your journey, but he just won a second Coach of the Year award. You talked about the system, how it's one of the best in the country. I guess, how proud are you of your dad's success and being able to help him get that type of recognition?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons that this has been so rewarding for me, is getting his name back out there as one of the best coaches in the country. I fully believed it ever since he started coaching, and then when I got here, I really saw how much of a genius he was. And I said it, I think, in my first press conference with you guys, that when you do it right, it works. And I feel like I've been able to be a part of making sure we run it right, and you see what it looks like when you do it right.
And that's your players. That's good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.